Last week here at Black Bear Forge, we took a look at making a set of railroad spike tongs to hold railroad spikes by the head. And railroad spikes can be used for a number of interesting, unique items, handles for barbecue tools, steak flippers, fireplace tools, poker shovels, things like that. But a lot of people really like to make knives out of railroad spikes. So today I thought we would make that railroad spike knife that is sort of a rite of passage for a new blacksmith. The disclaimer here is that railroad spikes are not very good steel for knives. They're great steel for making a railroad spike, way better than mild steel, but that's not great knife steel. Even the ones marked high carbon steel are not really as high a carbon as most people would like in a knife. So from my point of view, these are novelty knives. They're something you put on a shelf somewhere. Maybe you use it occasionally for opening a cardboard box or something, but they're not the kind of knife that you would want to take hunting or camping or something like that. The first thing I want to do to make our knife is put a twist in the portion that will be the handle. I think to add a little bit of interest to this twist, I'm going to go ahead and chisel a line down the middle of it on two sides, and that should make it more interesting than just a plain twist. To do the twist, we'll use the twisting wrench that was included with the railroad spike bundle that I received from Ken's Custom Iron. So this wrench is actually made to fit railroad spikes. The next thing we want to do is forge the blade, and to start that I want to fuller in right at the end of that twist to have a good transition point to the blade. A guillotine tool or some kind of fullering jig is probably ideal for this, but a simple spring fuller made from mild steel works just fine. I'm going to start spreading this sideways with this 4-pound diagonal peen hammer. It just moves material nice and quickly. Power hammer would be faster, but we'll do it at the anvil. Make sure you turn this back and forth so you're forging equally from both sides, and that helps reduce the stress that might later cause warping. I'm going to clean up that transition over a wood stump to avoid damaging the twist in the handle. I also think I'd like just a little bit of drop in the handle, so I'm going to do that over the wood stump with a rawhide mallet. You want to make sure everything is straight and in line and looks the way you want it to before you go on to grinding. This is the best time to correct any of that stuff. I'll also take a moment and put my touch mark on it real quick. But then I'm going to bring it back up to heat, let it air cool and normalize, then we'll go on to grinding. I'm going to try to limit the grinding on this knife to the profile and to the bevel. I don't want to grind the flat of the blade if I can avoid it. I want to leave that black and leave some hammer texture on there, both for character and to save a little time at the grinder. I'm going to quickly test this with a file just to get an idea of how hard it is after being normalized. Then I'll do that again after attempting to harden it, just to see what we end up with. If you don't have a grinder, you can do all of this with files. If you do your initial grinding with an already used belt, you can grind the scale off of this without wearing out a new belt. Then your new belts will last longer. Black Bear Forge is sponsored by Combat Abrasives. Use the link in the video description and the coupon code BlackBear10 for a discount on your next order. I'll take this down to a 220 grit belt before hardening it, and I want to make sure I also get all the scratch marks off the back of the blade and the very edge of the blade, so there's no stress risers when it goes for hardening. And now I'm ready to go ahead and harden this. And I'm going to go ahead and do that in the gas forge just because it'll be a little bit quicker today and we can just go ahead and get this done and finished in a single day. I'm also going to quench this in water based on examples from other smiths. It seems to be the best results, and a lot of them don't bother to temper, although I might temper it real low just to give it a little bit of a de-stress after quenching. Not sure if it really needs it, but it couldn't hurt. I'm using a piece of square tubing inside the forge as an inner chamber to keep the flame from the gas jet right off the cutting edge there. Should result in a more even heat. I'll also let that sit and soak with the gas off for a little bit to bring it up more slowly. I'll put that in the oven at about 300, I think, just to make sure it's not too stressed. But that doesn't add much temper. First I'll test it with this same file. And it's a little bit harder. Not a lot harder, but a little bit. Now I don't really consider this to be a tempering cycle. I don't think this is hot enough to change the hardness of the blade any. Just enough to de-stress it a little bit, at least in theory, and take any stress out that may have been put in there as part of the hardening process. While this is definitely harder than a piece of mild steel and harder than the spike was before we quenched it, it is not as hard fully quenched as a piece of 01, W1, 1095, 5160, some of those steels that people more typically make knives out of. So it's going to be better than mild steel, wrought iron, something like that, but not the highest quality knife edge that you can get. Once that comes out of the oven and it's still warm, I'm going to put a little bit of paste wax on the handle just to make the handle look better. Then I'm going to go clean up the blade using a woven belt. This is like a Scotch-Brite belt, although I don't think these are actually made by Scotch-Brite. Hard to say, I've had these for quite a while, and you get a lot of use out of them if you don't need to use them. I will be doing that with the cutting edge facing down so I don't accidentally snag the cutting edge on the belt. Be nice if this grinder had a reverse cycle on it, and I may add that at some point. Then finally, I'm going to work my way through grits from 120 up to 600 to put an edge on this, and I'll finish that up on the buffer, and this should have a nice sharp edge for what it is. And there we have a finished railroad spike knife. Really came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. Does it cut? Yeah, it cuts. How long will that edge last? I'm not sure, but for now, that's a good sharp knife. You're going to be able to use it for opening the mail, opening boxes, things like that. But like I say, I don't think it's going to hold up as long as you might like, because these are not the highest carbon steel in the world. Anyways, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, but stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.